using the chat box and let us know where you are, maybe what time of day it is with you. This is the second chance for me to hear this webinar, and I think you're in for a real treat because Charlotte is a very experienced producer of these webinars, but also we've just been having a good conversation about her being a teacher first and foremost. It's what's at her heart, and it's what drives the quality of the webinar that you're about to see. So just to say that at the end of this webinar, you will receive a certificate. And by the end of the week, we will get out to you Charlotte's slides and a recording of the webinar so you can watch in your own time and share with your colleagues. Hi, Jamaica. Good morning, still just about with you. Okay, I'm going to hand you over to Charlotte. See you at the end.
Thank you, Amanda. A pleasure as always. Hi, everybody. So just about lunchtime in Jamaica, eh? It's getting to evening here. I look a little bit like I have all sorts of shiny things because the sun is setting just on my window and I've closed my blinds. So I apologize for the weird sunlight on my face and the strange glow around the edges of my head. Hello, Marsha. Welcome. And Morticia and Lorraine, all in Jamaica. Amazing. Is there anyone who's not in Jamaica? Do we have anybody in St. Kitts at all? Or any of the other wonderful areas of the Caribbean? So nice to see you all. It's very nice of you to give up your lunch times as well. Thank you so much for that. Oh, Kerry in Jamaica. Hey, Grenada. Hello. Good. Not everybody's in Jamaica. Good to know. Excellent. So, as Amanda said, we are here to talk about skills to build confidence with spelling and grammar. And, well, I think the best way for us to start is by testing your spelling a little bit. So, I'm going to show you a few visual prompts. These visual prompts will lead you to some compound nouns. All I need you to do is have a look at the 5 sets of pictures I'm going to show you, and then in the chat box, can you tell me what the compound noun is? Let's go. Can I get my slides to work today? Yes, of course I can, somehow. There we are. Right, 5 pairs of words. Can you look at the pictures and write a compound word for each pair of pictures? So, nice, easy one at the top. Can anyone identify the first one? Fantastic. Lauren is straight in. Sunglasses. Football. Good call there, Morticia. Kerry Lou's got the sunglasses. Lauren's got the football. What's the second one? Ooh, rainbow at the bottom there. Well done, Marie. Sunlight calls Marin. Lovely. Number 4. What's number 2? What is number 2? Can anybody get it? Hey, Lauren, straight in there. Footpath, indeed. Fantastic. So, this is a nice little spelling activity that's quite easy to do, and a nice trick for doing this in class is by using emoji icons as well. So if you're teaching online, using emojis, or if you're teaching with the whiteboard in your classroom, using emojis to create the prompts. These are nice, easy ways that we can do it, and a good way of triggering that vocabulary knowledge whilst also testing their spelling. And I'm pleased to say that all of you are very good at spelling, which makes me very happy because you're teachers and you should be. Right, so what are we going to talk about this evening for me, this afternoon for you? 3 main points in our webinar today. The first thing we're going to be talking about is monitoring our learners, checking what they know, watching them as they learn and helping to support them through their learning. The next thing we're then going to be talking about is using that information to identify the gaps in knowledge. Where are these problems occurring? How can we fix them? And then we're going to be spending the rest of the session talking about some different spelling and grammar activities, nice quick activities that we can use to help build those skills, increase the confidence, and help our learners to progress as quickly and as efficiently and as happily as possible. So, we're going to start with a gorgeous girl. She's absolutely gorgeous. Look at that smile. Doesn't she make you happy? I love this picture. Imagine this little girl is in one of your classes. When we are teaching face to face, when we are in the classroom, how do we know that she is learning? What do we as teachers look for? What do we do? In the chat box, any ideas? If I, as her teacher, need to know, how is this girl doing? How is she learning? Has she understood things? What am I looking for in the classroom? Look at that gorgeous smile. Don't you just want to teach her everything? Isn't she beautiful? She's so beautiful. I love this girl so much. Right, couple of people typing in the chat box. Let's see what your ideas are. How do we know what she has learned? Give her simple instructions to follow. Absolutely. Simple instructions. Can she hear and understand what we're trying to get her to do? The mark of this, the way we check the understanding, is through the production. Has she followed the task? Marsha mentions her facial expressions. Absolutely. And I think this is something that's come into real focus for us as teachers over the last 15 months, is how much facial expressions of our students matter to us. All of those little questions that we see in the corner of the eye, the knowledge that we can see on the face, the understanding that we can see on the face, and the confusion that we can see. And certainly, I don't know if it's true for you, but it's true for me. Over the last year, I've really missed that. It's something that I didn't understand how much I relied on until I was teaching to little boxes on the screen and not necessarily being able to see all of my students at the same time. How do we know if we can't see them? How she communicates, says Marsha. Absolutely. The answers to the questions we ask, the way that she asks her own questions, how she talks with her classmates, how she explains things, how she helps people. All of that extra communication that happens in the classroom is such an important tool for us for monitoring learner progress. Morticia has mentioned, is she withdrawn or frustrated when we give her a task to complete? Yeah, absolutely. Those emotional reactions. And that's another thing that has been really difficult for teachers to monitor online over the last few years. Well, the last few year and a half, I guess, suppose, really now. Yeah, that emotional response that we can't always catch on camera is a clear message to teachers. So, in the world that we've been living in, how well do you feel you've been able to monitor your students' progress? I personally have noticed a lot of frustration in myself, not feeling like I can fully check on my students, not feeling that I can fully support my students. Has anybody else been feeling like that a little bit? I don't know. Maybe it's just me. Maybe it's just me, but I think probably it's quite a few of us. Yeah, okay, good. Not only me. Thank you, Maria. Thank you, Matisha. I like it when I'm not alone. Yeah, it can be really, really challenging and frustrating. And well, the facts speak for themselves. I mean, this is the Caribbean alone. 7 million learners, over 90,000 teachers across 23 countries and territories in the Caribbean have been learning online for the best part of the last 15 months. It was a very quick change to our reality. I think that, online education has been around for a long time, but for most of us, we have continued to teach in the way we have always taught. So our change that happened almost overnight meant that for us as teachers, we had a new challenge that we had to overcome very, very quickly. And we didn't always have the tools to do this. Another big challenge that we've all experienced this year is limited access to the classes. You see in the newspapers, certainly here in the UK, and I'm sure the same for you guys in the Caribbean, the phrase learner poverty. And to me, I didn't truly understand what this could mean. When my students are in my classroom, we're all in the same boat. We all have the same opportunities. We all have the same options. But when we're put online, we don't. Immediately when you hear the phrase learner poverty, you think about families who don't maybe have a computer or don't have an internet connection. But they're not the only people that have experienced this year. If you're in a household where you've got 2 or more children, quite possibly you've got 2 or more children who are trying to learn online through one device. You have to make choices as a parent. Which of my children's education is more important today? Do I choose the older child who is having exams this year, next year, or do I go with the younger child? Because the class is at the same time and we only have one device we can access things on. We've also had the experience of internet connectivity. Even in a world where I am the teacher, I have internet connectivity problems. My internet has been up and down all year. Can we access this? And what it's meant is that not all of the children in our classes have had the same opportunities and the same access to education over the last 15 months. Would you say this is true for you? Let me know in the chat box. Have you had this experience? And of course, the other thing that we need to remember as teachers of younger learners is that online learning is less effective with younger children. Studies and research shows that the older we are, the equally effective online learning can be. And in some cases, for adult learners, for teenage learners, it can be more effective because it allows for more self-direction and more motivation. But younger children need a structured learning environment. They need to feel safe. They need to be supported. They need their routines. So, a question to you. Which of these do you feel has been your biggest challenge this year? Has it been learning overnight to teach online and manage classes online? Has it been the lack of access that your students have faced? Or has it been the managing of younger children? Challenges like trying to teach handwriting skills or trying to basically teach any form of writing online has been a huge challenge for me personally. Which one has been your biggest challenge? Let me see. 2 and 3. Option 2 for Marie here. Yeah, it's been hugely difficult. Paula just says writing full stop. I feel that pain. I really do. 2 and 3. Ooh, Marie goes option 4. What's secret option 4, Marie? Let me know. Good to know. So we've faced all of these challenges, and now we find ourselves in the really challenging situation globally where all of our governments are going, we need to make the children catch up. We need to make the children catch up. They have missed education. They haven't been learning. They're not the writing challenge. Yes, okay, agreed. Yeah, secret option 4, just writing full stop. It is the hardest thing, especially penmanship. So, we find ourselves now as teachers being told, you need to do more. You need to do more hours. You need to do extra classes. Holidays are reducing. We need to catch up, catch up, catch up. And in the previous session, because this is my second session today of the same thing, one of the teachers in the first session asked whether catch up is possible. And I don't know what you guys think, but I do know what I think. And I think that the idea of catching up on education is about as possible as the idea of catching up on sleep. It is impossible. Absolutely. As Morticia has quite clearly said, I completely agree. Catch up is not possible. It's a term that our governments are saying to parents, but realistically, it's not a real thing. If you don't sleep for 3 nights in a row and then you sleep 24 hours the next night, it's not going to bring your sleep levels back to normal. The only thing that we can do is to encourage, to build skills, and to support as much as possible. We all have to start over. Absolutely. Absolutely. And the idea that we as teachers are going to spend the next year teaching 2 years worth of content, it's ridiculous. We know scientifically that there is a capacity for the amount that anybody can learn in one go. As teachers in primary, we know we can't teach more than 5 or 6 new words in a lesson. If we double it, it's not going to be more effective, it's going to be less effective. Unfortunately, the governments are not always teachers. So we now have this new challenge, don't we? How do we make sure that we get the children back onto the right path? How do we make sure that the damage that has been happening and the lost time and the lack of access and the differences in access to education, how do we make sure that we prevent this having a long-term negative effect? I think that's the question that we as teachers are asking. Not how do we help them catch up, but how do we help them succeed? How do we bridge the gap between what we've lost and what we want to achieve? So, key thing that we, of course, need to think about first and foremost is our monitoring. Now, I'm not sure. Are you back face to face all the time now in the Caribbean, or are you still teaching online? Is it a mixture? How is life in Jamaica, etc. at the moment? Teachers here are still very mixed. Yeah, so still teaching online, some face to face, a little bit. Yeah, it's a mixture. Okay, same situation here. How then do we identify these gaps and make sure that we're doing what we can to help? Well, unsurprisingly, there's been a lot of research about this over the last year and a half. And one interesting piece that I've picked out is from the Annenberg Institute at Brown University over in the States. They've been focused on monitoring learner progress online. How can we monitor what's been happening? And how can we ensure that we are identifying issues as they come up and helping the children to build those skills to overcome those issues? So they make 5 recommendations. Their first recommendation, I think, is pretty familiar to most teachers. Set and share specific goals. know what we want to achieve, and make sure that the children and the parents know what they are trying to achieve. Sharing and setting specific goals. Of course, what we've also learnt over the course of the last year and a half is that, especially with young learners, our goals and ambitions have reduced a little bit. Monitoring our classes online, keeping everybody online, getting everybody into an online classroom is incredibly challenging. An online lesson, there are less goals you can achieve, and those goals take longer to achieve when we're teaching online. It can take 15 minutes to get a class started, and by the time we've got the class started, it's almost time to finish it again. So setting and sharing those specific goals, but also making sure that those goals are appropriate and manageable. The next point that they brought up is the idea of assessment questions. Now, we're going to talk about this in a bit more detail in a moment, but the recommendation from the Annenberg Institute is interspersing 5 to 10 assessment questions throughout the lesson. More is always better, if you ask me. I will ask an assessment question every 5 minutes. It helps me to see if understanding has taken place. And I believe that most of us do already intersperse at least 5 to 10 questions per lesson, which help us to assess what our students know. But the question is, are we asking the right questions? So we're going to come back to this in a moment. Now, the next three elements are incredibly important. Incredibly important because they actually connect very deeply with the idea of assessment for learning. Now, these 3 points are that in an online classroom, it can't just be about passing an exam. It can't just be about summative assessment. We need to make sure that we are giving equal focus to all areas of development. It's not just about the what we are learning, it's about how we are learning, it's about how we feel while we are learning. And it's also about the processes that we use to get to the goal. If your process is a good process and your answer is wrong, that is equally a valid learning experience as it is learning the target language or the target grammar point or how to spell this difficult word. Of course, it's not just about measuring that data, it's about using that data. So learning from our students, learning from observation, learning from monitoring, learning from assessment for learning, and summative assessment as well, but using the data that we get in our lesson planning, taking what we learn and applying it as quickly as possible. So on a simple notice, if we ask a question to the students and the students get the answers wrong, we understand immediately there is a problem, there is a miscommunication. What do we do as teachers? We go back, we revisit, we use what we've learnt and we embed it into our next lesson or our next activity. We keep working. And it's all about keeping that on target. And I think that the final point that they have made is one of the most important things for us as primary teachers. And along with the challenges that we've faced getting our students to be able to study online, the one thing that we've really lost a lot of is that social emotional wellness aspect of learning. To learn effectively, we need to feel happy, we need to feel safe, we need to feel brave and confident enough to try, to make a mistake. And in an online classroom, I've seen it go both ways. Some students feel much more comfortable because they're at home. I've had students who are potentially even braver because they can hold their teddy in the classroom. They're in their comfortable environment. But for many others, they felt lonely, they felt lost, they felt disconnected from their teacher, from their classmates, and that has had an impact on learning as well. So we're going to be talking a little bit about where we can bring in that social and emotional wellness as well. But let's start by thinking about assessment questions. So assessment questions are questions we use to assess, obviously. Simple questions with simple answers. Avoiding target language. If we're testing grammar, we want to see if they can use it. So whereas we avoid the target language in our questions are designed to elicit that target language. The answer should enable the students to use that vocabulary. Our assessment questions, to keep them simple, they need to be familiar vocabulary. We don't want to confuse with our questions. We need to be bringing out basic concepts such as time and tense in the questions, and also allowing questions that encourage the students to bring that out. Of course, the other thing we need to remember is that we need to be checking various aspects of the language. So if we're talking about building our vocabulary, building our spelling ability, then we need to be looking at questions which help us to identify sounds in words, spelling in words, usage in words. When we come to grammar, we need to be checking not only that they know the form of the language, but when to use it and why to use it. What's the purpose of this structure? We stick ed on a verb because we want to talk about things that happened in the past, etc. So checking not only the formatic elements of language, but also the usage elements as well, making sure that we bring that into our questioning. And of course, we need to be covering as many learners as possible. So as much as possible, using our assessment questions is as pair work or group work activities that children can work together so that we can get answers from as many people as we can. Now, I think the key thing that we also need to remember is that as teachers, we ask a lot of questions, but maybe this is true for you as well. It's certainly true for me. My questions haven't always been intentional. Questions occur in the classroom, and children ask questions and we ask questions back. But did I plan them? Do I know what I want to say? Do I know what I need to say at any one time? And I think that the key thing that we can take away from the Annenberg Institute is that we are interspersing 5 to 10 assessment questions intentionally. My best recommendation to all teachers at all times is plan the questions you're going to ask. If you know you're teaching a new topic, if you know you're teaching a new area of grammar, think in advance exactly what questions we're going to use. Because if we can do that, then they're going to be more effective. Now, assessment questions come largely in 6 categories. Let's have a look at some of these. So we start off with yes/no questions. All of my questions are ice cream themed today. I'm having a hot, sunny day in Brighton and I want some ice cream, so I've got ice cream themed questions. So our yes/no questions, if we're testing the idea or the concept of ice cream, we might be asking, is ice cream cold? Yes or no? We can learn from the children from a simple one-word answer. Do they understand? Do you drink ice cream? No, teacher. Oh, okay, what do you do? Oh, you eat ice cream. Fantastic, great. 50-50 chance questions are a very similar idea. But again, they let us check other parameters. So do you usually eat ice cream in summer or winter? Is it healthy or unhealthy? We then have the information questions. Where can you buy ice cream? What's it made from? Discrimination questions. Identifying what it's not, where the idea comes to an end. So is ice cream a sour food? We know if the child says yes, there is a problem. They either don't understand what sour means or they don't understand what ice cream is. One or the other. We can then test that further. Can animals eat ice cream? Yeah. Let's have a discussion about that. And then, of course, at the end, we have our shared experience questions, those personalization questions. So, do we have ice cream at school? Which shop in our town has the best ice cream? What's your favorite flavor? Mine is strawberry, just in case you ever meet me. Mine is a strawberry ice cream, please. Now, in your classrooms, which of these types of questions do you use the most to assess your students? Where do you usually find yourself? I have a suspicious idea. I'm interested to see if I am right. But I think what I will see is exactly what I expect to see. Someone is typing. Who is it? I don't know. We're going to find out in a minute. Yes, no, 50-50 chance, shared experience. Absolutely. We use a mixture, don't we? Of course we do. Of course we use a mixture of them because they all have a different purpose. At the top, our yes-no questions and our 50-50 chance questions, they target the literal comprehension. The very, very top surface comprehension. Is ice cream cold? Is it healthy? These questions tell me the absolute basics about understanding, about comprehension. Information questions and discrimination questions, they require a slightly deeper thinking strategy. They require children not just to say yes or no or give a 50-50 chance. They need to take other things that they know and combine that knowledge together. So it's a slightly deeper level of comprehension. And then, of course, at the end, we've got the experiential comprehension. The comprehension and understanding that comes from our own experience. And with young learners, this is incredibly important because young learners are the center of their own world. Everything in the world, if it relates back to that child, the child will understand better. So it's about the comprehension of our own life and combining what we learn with our own experience. If we use only one type of these questions, then we're not going to get to all depths of comprehension. So when we're planning our lessons, we need to be working through all of these different types as much as possible. We want to see all of them showing us everything they know. And through those questions, we can do that. Good afternoon, Deborah. Welcome. Another person in Jamaica. All the Jamaica teachers are busy this evening, aren't they? Right, okay. So I mentioned that this is very, very central to assessment for learning. And assessment for learning is the best tool that we have as teachers to help bridge those gaps over and help build up those skills and help build up that confidence again. Because assessment for learning is focused on how students learn. And as we've already seen, we're looking at clear goals, clear strategies. We're looking at providing that emotional support, recognizing all of the achievement and motivating our students to learn. And I think the biggest danger with all of this catch-up pressure that is being thrown at teachers right now is that it's demotivating. And as we know, motivation is an incredibly important tool in the classroom. If the children in our class don't want to do the thing, they don't want to do the thing and they're not going to learn it. We need to keep them motivated. So the activities that we're going to look at for the rest of this session are all about keeping the learning motivating, keeping the children engaged, and making sure that we are giving them as many opportunities as possible to try, to experiment, and to have some fun with language while they're learning. Because as we've said, the best way that we can overcome the challenges that we faced over the last year is to keep them happy and to keep them loving what they're doing. So, our activities this evening, or this afternoon, are all taken from these 3 books. They are all available to you in the Caribbean. So all you need to do is talk to your local reps if you want to see anything from these books. But all of these ideas have come from these books this time. So we got Spelling Rules and Grammar Rules. These are 2 wonderful activity books for practicing different elements of spelling and grammar. Lovely illustrations, as you will see over the next few slides, and full of great ideas and activities that we can use to help support that learning. And then next to that, we of course have Language Tree, which many of you will be familiar with, I'm sure. Very popular title, specifically available in the Caribbean. And this as a course book offers support with both spelling and grammar as well. So we're going to have a look at some activities that I have highlighted from these books. It is important to remember, however, that these activities can be used with any materials in any situation. All you need to do as a teacher is make a little tweak, but all of these ideas will work with whatever you're using. So, starting with spelling, supporting spelling. This activity is a lovely little 5-second activity that can be pulled out at any moment. So when you're teaching new vocabulary, it's a great time to bring this game in. Little activity, and it's a little activity called Rhyme Time. All it involves is showing the children 2 pictures that rhyme. Can anybody type these 2 words into the chat box? Fastest finger first. Who's got my 2 words? Hey, tree and 3. Fantastic. Well done. I would be very disappointed if you could not do these 2 words. Tree and 3. Now, nice simple one, right? They're good. They're similar spelling patterns. It's a double E ending. We've got a T, we've got an R. The only difference is that H. Of course, as we know, depending on your English and where you learnt English, you might not always hear those differences in the pronunciation. Ireland, for example, the lovely country of Ireland, they cannot make a th sound. No Irish people can say th. They say t. So, in an Irish accent, these words are tree and tree. But of course, the spelling is different. So, it's all about getting those rhyming sounds together and then turning those into their written forms. Now, the E sound isn't only spelt with a double E, is it? So, we could have tree and key. We could have tree and flea, for example. And it's a great opportunity to bring out those spelling differences and work with different sound and spelling patterns as well. But it's a nice, easy, quick to learn, quick to play game. All you need is a couple of rhyming flashcards and you're good to go. The next spelling activity is one of my favorites, and these are phenomenal. They are little flip books that you can either make in class as a group or you can make at home to play with parents. And the focus here is all about supporting spelling when it comes to affixes, so prefixes and suffixes in words. You'll notice here that we've got an ing verb ending as an example, and we've also got the negative suffix miss. Negative prefix miss at the beginning. So the idea here is that the children will make the books using the things they know. So for example, with our first book, we've got ing verbs. So the children might fill the pages with all of the verbs they know: laughing, crying, dancing, swimming, anything they like. Of course, What we're focusing on here is spelling and how spelling impacts. So we've got laughing there. What if I put the verb write into, I can't write into the chat box there. What changes need to happen to this word if we're adding ing? Well, let's see. We should know. We have to drop the E, absolutely. So in this case, we're getting the children to put the verb write in the book and then use a different colour pen to make the changes. So if we've got the verb swim in there, they might, in a different colour, add an extra M. If they've got the word write in there, they'll cross off the E with a different coloured pen. And it's a visual reminder on how those spelling forms work. Of course, these then can be made at home, they can be played with. All you need is a little spiral notebook to make one of these, and to be honest, you could do it with a folded piece of paper too. It's very, very easy. With the prefixes, we've got even more opportunities because we're talking about meaning here. So the prefixes carry the meaning. What does miss mean in our sentences? So what's the difference between misunderstand and not understand? What does miss mean as a verb? And we can add in all of those extra words. Somebody give me a word that could go into our mistake flip book. Who's got a good miss word they would add? Let's see. Mislead. Oh, I like that word. That's a good word. Excellent. Right. So flip books. Misunderstand. One of my favorites. It's always, misspelt. Very nice. Misunderstand is always the first misword that I highlight because I think it's a good one for children to get their head around. Right, now, misguided. Excellent word, Sanzet. Thank you. I like it. And also, what a wonderful name you have. Supporting spelling. I love this game. This game is incredibly good fun, especially when you are teaching online and you need to find a way to get the kids to connect with each other. This game is a pair work game. So the idea between say it, spell it is that the students work in pairs, A and B. The teacher would ask the question. So for example, in the house, where do we cook food? Student A or student B shouts out the answer, in the kitchen. Their partner then has to spell the key word. So let's say student A gives the answer in the kitchen. Student B then has to spell the word out, Kitchen. If the student answers the question correctly, their partner gets to spell. If the partner spells correctly, they will get a point. So you only get the point if your team is working together. And it's really, really nice for that interaction and building that trust and confidence in the classroom. The students have to look at each other, check with each other. It's like, I know the answer. Shall I say it? Can you spell it? Will we get a point? I know the answer, but I can't spell it. So I'll say the answer. You spell the word. Okay, fantastic. Teamwork. That's what we like. Lots and lots of opportunities to practice your spelling in that way. I'm sure many of you have used word chains, but they're always worth remembering about because they can be exploited in a lot of different ways depending on what you need to achieve. In our example of the image here, this is all a sound-based chain. So this is all about rhyming. And as we can see, we've got fight, light, slight. We've also got bite. So different spelling patterns, same sound. And these can be a really good way of children practicing with different spelling patterns. But we can also use them for grammar purposes. So we might do an antonym chain. Maybe student A is talking about big. Student B has to think of words for small. So student A would start with big. Student B says small. Student A says huge, student B says tiny, and we see how long we can get those antonyms working. The same with synonyms. How many words for something can we remember? Computer, PC, laptop, tablet, mobile phone. Okay, technology, fantastic, etc., etc. And they can also be used for practicing word sets as well. If you want to up the challenge level of this, add in an extra step. So I say the word fight. My partner has to spell the word fight, F-I-G-H-T. Then my partner says their word, light. I have to spell the word before I say my word. So you can increase the challenge and add in that extra bit of practice. And as Sansa says, collaborating is great. Absolutely. We were talking at the beginning about that social, emotional element of learning. And so much of that comes from collaboration, from working together, from learning to trust each other and building our confidence as part of a group. So important. Now, how many of you like a dictation? I love to use dictations in my classroom. I know some teachers don't think it's very fashionable or cool, but I really like dictation. Do any of you use dictations in your classrooms? Am I alone? There's a question. Mini dictations are a brilliant way of testing spelling. And one of the things that I like most about the Spelling Rules series is that it has a whole set of mini dictations that you can use in your classrooms on different themes. And like these examples here, we can see that they are short, 1 sentence, 2 sentences, 3 sentences maximum. But each one will practice a different idea. So if we have a look here, I had a dream in my head. In it, I had to sweep the street. So what we're testing here is spellings of the E sound. And dream is an E sound, sweep and street are E sounds as well. But we've also got the word head in there, which shows the same spelling pattern as dream, but has a different pronunciation pattern. And these pre-prepared dictations are a very useful tool for practicing different spelling patterns. So we've got, while mum was awake, dad took care to make the table. He placed it in the shade in time for lunch. The table had a white stripe. Lots of different sounds in there that we're practicing. Does anybody in the chat box know what a dictogloss is? If you do, feel free to explain. Oh, someone is typing. Excellent. Unless they're going to say no. No is a valid answer. If you don't know, I'm going to tell you. Hey, okay, all right. I'm getting some no's. That's good. So, if dictation is about listening and spelling accurately, dictogloss is about understanding grammar. Now, short dictations can be used to practice grammar and structure as well. There is only a slight difference in a delivery. So when I am doing a dictation in class, I read slowly, I repeat what I'm saying, and I give the students time. So I would start, I had a dream. I had a dream. I'll say it again and again and again. I had a dream in my head. In my head. I had, etc., etc., etc. Dictation is a slow process. Dictogloss is quick process. So a dictogloss is a dictation that we read at normal speed. I had a dream in my head. In it, I had to sweep the street. And I would read it like that in the classroom. The challenge with a dictogloss is not to try and write everything. Writing everything is impossible. What you write is the key words, the important things that we remember. So if I read the sentence, I had a dream in my head, in it I had to sweep the street, probably the children will remember the words dream, head, sweep, and street. The information words, the words that carry the meaning. They won't remember the exact grammar words. They won't remember, did I say had? Did I say have? They won't remember if I said in my head, on my head, for my head. That's not important. Head is important. So the idea with dictogloss is that you read the text at a normal speed. The children will note down the important words, and then the next step, they try to reconstruct your sentence. And the idea is that they use their understanding and their knowledge to build that sentence back up until they have the correct sentence that you said. So you can do this in lots and lots of different ways, but it's a really nice way of turning your dictation into grammar practice. Stories like this one. So this is an example of a story from the language tree book. Once there were two mice who were cousins. One lived in the town and the other in the country. One day the town mouse went to visit his country cousin. "How poor your house is," he said. "My house is very fine. I have lots to eat. You must come and visit me." So the country mouse went to visit his cousin in the town. The house was very big and there was plenty of food on the table. But when the country mouse began to eat, his cousin shouted, "Look out, it's the cat." So we would read this story at a normal pace. Okay, can you write down exactly the first sentence of that story in the chat box? Let's see. Now, this is a very big challenge. Even with a dictogloss, you would read the story maybe 2 times, 3 times while the children are taking notes. I am being a very horrible teacher today and only reading it to you once. But let's see, can anybody reconstruct the first sentence? Now, the key words in this sentence are mouse and cousin and town and country. But can we remember the grammar? Can we calculate the grammar? Let's see. Not sure. Who's going to get the first sentence first? We'll do a compare and contrast. Ooh, 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 ooh. Oh, anyone going to get it? Anyone going to get it? Someone's still typing. Ah, what did she say? It's been so long now. No one can remember. So, hopefully. Ooh, 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 ooh. 3, 2, 1. Let's see what we've got. Da, 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 da. Ah. All right. I'm going to go 10-second countdown. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hey, okay, so Sanzet has given it a good solid go. Once there were two mice who were cousins. One lived in the country, the other in the town. All right, let's see. Oh, that is very, very good, Sanzet. Big round of applause there. The only issue you got was town and country round the wrong way. That's pretty good. I'm very, very impressed. All right, so these dictogloss type activities involve lots of thinking. They involve the children using those deeper comprehension skills and having practice, independent practice of using language effectively is such a valuable tool. All right. One more grammar activity that I want to talk about. Can you take a quick moment, have a look at these two texts? Which one is the correct text? Which one is the incorrect text? We'll call the top one number 1 and the bottom one number 2. Which one's correct? Top or bottom? 1 or 2? The bottom one says Gemma. Oh, Jamina. Sorry. Couldn't see my eye properly. I'm going blind. It's the end of the day. My eyes got tired. Text 2. Okay, Lorraine agrees. Should we have a look at this? All right. Let's read the top one. Sloths are mammals. Okay, that's correct. They lives. No, we don't like that. Okay, let's have a look at number 2. Sloths are mammals. They live. Okay, that's good. At South America? Is that correct? They lives in South America. Oh, is incorrect? Both of these texts have mistakes, and both of these texts are correct. The question is, what's the difference? Now, again, this is a lovely pair work activity that you can use. The first step in the classroom is for the children to find the differences. So, student A has text A, student B has text B. They read them together and they circle everything that is different. So, student A will circle lives, student B will circle live, student A will circle in, student B will circle at. Sloths have mostly brown furs. No, we need to circle furs. Sloths have. We'll circle those. The next step is to decide and negotiate together which one is the correct answer. So some of the correct answers are in text A, some of the correct answers are in text B. We challenge the children to find all the differences, and then they work together to practice and decide which is correct. You can use this for all sorts of things. So you'll see in here the examples are things like subject-verb agreement, prepositions, etc. All of those things that I have changed in there, those little changes. You can target these specifically depending on what you are working on. So again, you want to use a nice short text. Something like the story with the grammar is fantastic. Or something like this, which is taken from Grammar Rules. They're nice short introduction texts. And I've just used the first paragraph of the text to create this little grammar activity. All we're asking the children to do is identify the differences. Now, conscious that we are very short on time, so I want to end with one little activity. And this little activity is an incredibly important thing for helping the children build that confidence back up. Because a key part of bridging these gaps is going to be able to help those children bridge the gap for themselves and to think about their own learning, to begin to self-assess themselves. So this is a little self-assessment activity that you can use at the end of any lesson, and that's the 3, 2, 1 countdown. So we ask the children to talk about or write down 3 things they remember from the lesson. So from this session, 3 things you might remember. Maybe you remember the name of the books. Maybe you remember talking about access to internet. Those might be your 3 things that you remember from the session. The next step is 2 things that made you curious, 2 things we learnt today that you want to know more about. And then finally, 1 thing you want to try, or 1 thing you want to do, or 1 thing you want to remember. So we go from that memory idea down to the push for curiosity, encouraging the children to learn and find out more for themselves, but also encouraging the children to do something at the end of the lesson as well. And it's a nice, easy to remember trick that we can use. Right. We are very much nearly out of time. So if you do have any questions, feel free to type them in the chat box, and Amanda will share some information about the follow-up for you. If you have any questions, I will address them when Amanda's done her little chatty bit.
Thank you very much, Charlotte. Thank you. That was another really rewarding webinar, and so many things to take away. And that last slide about 1 thing that you want to do, I think it applies to everybody, not just the students as well.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Thank you all for joining us today. Really appreciate you giving up your time. I know it's still such a challenging time for teaching out there, so thank you. At the end of this webinar, you will receive a certificate, and then by the end of the week, we will send out to you the recording from this webinar so you can watch it again and share with colleagues, plus some worksheets that we have taken from some of the books that Charlotte talked about and Charlotte's presentation. I just popped in the chat box that Charlotte is actually running 3 webinars tomorrow, so if anyone would like to join in,
if you are not bored of my face yet,
please do email us on international.curriculum@macmillaneducation.com and I can send you the links to register. The first one is at British summertime, 7:30 tomorrow morning, so an early start, but it does run throughout the rest of the day. So
yes, and we'll be talking about children reading at home and encouraging reading at home. So if you do want to join us, feel free to come along. It would be lovely to see you all.
Thank you very much for your time. Thank you, Charlotte, for yours. Have a good rest of the day, everybody.
Bye. Enjoy your afternoon.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.